Hello, Joe. I've kind of hated to break the news to you, chum, knowing you're still in it up to your neck, but take a gander. Yep, honorable discharge. I'm a civilian again. No more pounding those beaches with that cold wind blowing up my tail. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy your company, dog-face. When the brass hats say I've had enough, I'm not gonna beef. Well, looking back, I'd say all in all, the Army was good for me. Of course, those early days had me a little punch-drunk, being dragged out of the privacy of civilian life all at once and going through that induction routine. I felt as bewildered and helpless as a flea on a Mexican hairless. But then the training snapped me out of it, getting the lard off of my hips and developing muscles I hadn't used since I was a young punk and challenged 2 Airedales. I felt a little sorry for the mutts that were being washed out, but, well, it takes men to fight a war. I found out this wasn't for kids when the training got rugged. And when they showed us what we were up against in those Why We Fight pictures, we finally knew what the war was about.
In der Minorität bleiben, weil wir nicht wert an der Ende des Kampfes.
That's when you and me teamed up. Sentry duty around the post first and pounding those beaches for 2 years. It was kind of a shock when they shipped you and some of those mutts overseas without me, but I was glad you weren't around later when they told me I'd had enough. As soon as they decided to make me a civilian, they sent me to a camp where the hired help put me through what they called defrosting. You see, the idea is to unlearn all they learned you, to make you like everybody instead of sticking by one guy. You know, everybody's sweetheart. Some of the mutts wouldn't go for the treatment. Oh, they howled, they joined up the fight, and they're gonna keep right on fighting. So I guess they're in uniform for the rest of their lives. I felt the same way at first, but, oh, I don't know. Sleeping in a warm kennel nights, getting nothing but kind words. Finally, I was putty in their hands. My heart was practically busting with love for my fellow man. By now, you could bivouac me with a bevy of cats. So they cleaned me up prettier than a trollop's Pekingese and gave me a final physical that proved I was in even better shape than when I joined up. But here's the payoff, chum. When my master got the news that I was fit and ready to be returned to civilian life, he decided I had a reward coming. You know what it was? 2 months in the mountains on a dude ranch for dogs. Yeah, on the level. A private dude ranch strictly for man's best friend. I could hardly believe my nose. You should get a load of some of the identities here. This is the sheriff. Top man, and oh, brother, does he know it. Here's a nephew of Napoleon. You know, that canine in the cartoons? This jerk insisted on living here. They tell me he thinks he's a cuckoo clock. Practically all the dogs are here for the duration on account of their folks being in uniform. Red belongs to an admiral. Jake's master was captured at Corregidor. Chien has both his master and mistress in uniform and was a sad cookie till he got acquainted with the little number next door. Yeah, they met on a picnic down by the lake and discovered they both liked the same things. And now it's carved for all the world to see. Those picnics are really something. Mostly they're along the lake shore with plenty of swimming and showing off in front of the dames. And of course, a little of that old snuggleroo. Later, there's malted milks and man-of-war burgers. Get a load of that slob next to me. After you've got a good conduct rating, you can go out on your own for a little hike and maybe chase a rabbit or two. I'll never forget the first time I made this solo trip. Me, all alone in the middle of all this big timber. Oh. Well, good things have to end. And besides, I was kind of anxious to get acquainted again with my folks. So I'm hustled into my private compartment and head for the city. Well, this was the moment I'd looked forward to, but was afraid of. Hoping I wouldn't break down or they wouldn't. You know, I was even worried about being a family dog again. So much time on my hands and nothing but brotherly love in my heart. And then the kid's arm was around me, and this new character was cooing at me. And wham, it was just like I'd never been away. Brother, this is it. This is worth everything. And did I say time on my hands? Say, did you ever take care of one of these little numbers? All you gotta do is blink an eye, and in 1 second flat, they're over the hill. Hey, you, get back where you belong. Yeah, you, on a double. Look at her. The little punk thinks I'm sore. Man, if she only knew how well the Army has defrosted me. Nice feeling, Joe. I hope this is for everybody someday. A place in the sun, free air to breathe, and a decent job to be done. Good luck, Joe. May it be soon for you.
In New York City, the Army-Navy Screen magazine again presents its By Request department.
Fellows, your response to our first By Request program was wonderful. As soon as Army-Navy Screen magazine started playing at camps and different theaters of war, your letters began pouring in. Of course, we're pleased, and only sorry that we can't answer every request we've received. Instead, we're going to try to answer the ones we think will interest the most of you. The first request this time is from PFC Thomas Katz, stationed in the South Pacific. PFC Katz is from Brooklyn. He writes that outside of his family and sweetheart, the thing he would like most to see is a lettuce and tomato sandwich with an ice-cold glass of milk to wash it down.
Miss T5 says tomato. We say tomato. Anyway, PFC Katz, there's your sandwich. We realize, of course, that seeing isn't as good as eating, but that's something the Screen magazine can't do much about. We did ask the girl behind the counter to cut the tomato a little thicker, but she gave us an argument. She said if she did, you wouldn't believe the picture was authentic. There, Private, is your glass of ice-cold milk. The girl? Oh, well, that's our idea. We figured that as long as we couldn't give you the real thing, we'd add a little something of our own. Quite a lettuce and tomato, wouldn't you say, Private?
Sergeant Lowry, stationed in the Caribbean, wants to know why Army and Navy Screen magazine doesn't show some pictures of Marshal Tito, famous Yugoslav patriot.
Here, deep in the mountains of Yugoslavia, and heavily guarded by his loyal partisans, you see the first and only pictures of Marshal Tito ever taken. It was Marshal Tito who organized the whole Yugoslav people after they'd been sold out into a new and powerful state against Hitler and on the side of the United Nations. Knowing nothing about him, he was long called the mystery man of the Balkans. Now the only mystery seems to have been why we didn't know anything about him sooner. Deeply loved by the people he's led, Marshal Tito is one of the great men to emerge from the war.
Lou Amster, seaman first class, somewhere in the Pacific, saw Jimmy Durante in issue number 26 of the Army-Navy Screen magazine, and he wants some more of the same. Well, here's the maestro himself, doing his famous strut away.
Why, in the midst of festivities, I'll get up, and do my strut away. In my cutaway, it's just a hop away, a scram away, and a scram away. And then you skid it right down and you go on with a twist away. Where's the mic? When you twist away, this way it's a holiday. You know, all over town, they're doing the Susie Q. Why, they did that dance years ago on the Rudy LaPoo, but not my strut away. In my cutaway, why, it's a dance that's gonna gain great renown. You know, a beautiful gal invited me up to her apartment to teach her this dance. I was in the apartment 10 minutes when who walks in? Her husband. Kind of perturbed. He says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm putting on my white tie. I'm putting on my top hat. I'm putting on my top coat to make my getaway, doing the strut away." Did you ever have the feeling that you wanted to do the strut away, the hop away, the scram away, and then you skid right down and you go to town doing the strut away? Let me hear it. Let me hear it, Major. Hey, hey.
There's your second By Request program, fellows. All you have to do is write in. Remember, Army-Navy Screen Magazine, New York City.